Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Mauliddin, and in this video, I'm going to read and explain the poem "Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening" by Robert Frost. And yeah, I guess that's all for my introduction, and enjoy.
Whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. My little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near. Between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. He gives his harness bells a shake to ask if there is some mistake. The only other sounds, the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So this is the explanation part of the poem "Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening" by Robert Frost. So in this explanation is based on my understanding. So if there is some misinterpretation, I am very sorry about that. So this is the entire poem. If you want to see the whole poem, you can just pause it. And then here is the meaning of the poem. So the overall meaning of the poem can be interpreted as a reflection on the allure of nature's beauty and the desire to escape the responsibilities of life, even if only for a moment. This poem expresses the universal conflict between the longing for inner peace and the demands of everyday life. So in this poem, it talks about the speaker who wants to stay in the woods. He wants to enjoy the snowy evening in the woods, but he remembers that he has the promises, or we can say uh, the obligations or responsibilities that he has he must fulfill. So that's why he decided to leave the woods in order to fulfill his obligations. Maybe the meaning of this obligation is all entire life. It talks about all entire life before he can rest. Here, but I have promises to keep. It means that he has obligations and miles to go before I sleep. So it means that uh, there are a long way to go before I can sleep. Maybe in that poem, in that line, sleep means death. Yeah, maybe that's all for my overall meaning. So we are moving to the structure uh, of the poem. In this poem, it has 16 lines and 4 stanzas. Stanza means like a paragraph in a story. So it has 4 stanzas, and in each stanza, it has 4 lines. For the rhyme scheme is AABA, but in the last stanza, it is AAAA. And for the meter or the rhythm, it is using iambic tetrameter. The way you read it is the first word is unstressed, and then the second word is stress. Here is for the example. So in this word, it is unstressed, and then the second is stress. Whose woods these are, I think I know. That's something like that. So daram, 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 daram. That's the rhythm of this poem. And then we are moving to the each meaning of the stanza. So the speaker began by contemplating the ownership of the woods. Here, whose woods these are, I think I know. He acknowledges that he may know the owner who lives in a nearby village. His house is in the village though. He will not see me stopping here. It means maybe it is to emphasize that he is alone in the woods, to enjoy, to watch his woods fill up with snow, to enjoy the view of the snow. So in this first stanza, it is quite straightforward, in my opinion. So maybe there is no hidden meaning in this stanza. Then we are moving to the second stanza. My little horse must think it queer. So the speaker reflects on how strange the situation must seem to his horse, to stop in the very cold and also dark place, to stop without a farmhouse near, between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. So in this line, uh, it has personification where the horse uh, are able are given the ability to think like a human. So I think it is a personification, and then it is also the symbolism, which is mean uh, the symbolism of how cold the situation, the temperature in that place. It is using the word, the phrase frozen lake. So it is to emphasize how cold the temperature in the woods and the darkest evening of the year. Uh, it may symbolize, maybe it symbolizes the feeling of the speaker. It is not about the dark place, but it symbolizes the feeling of the speaker. It means that the speaker is maybe depressed or very, very sad at that moment. And then in the third stanza, he gives his harness belts a shake to ask if there is some mistake. So the horse becomes restless, shaking its harness belts as if questioning why they have stopped in such a secluded place. So it is also the personification in it. It has the personification in it, where the horse are given the ability to ask like a human. And then the only other sounds, the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. So the only sounds are the soft jingling of the harness bells and the gentle wind moving through the snow. Downy flake, it means like a snowflake. It symbolizes the snowflake, which is the words downy. Downy here means like a feather or soft, something like that. And then for the final stanza, the woods are lovely, dark, and deep. So in this final stanza, the speaker is captivated by the woods, finding them lovely, dark, and deep. So dark and deep, uh, in my opinion, maybe it talks about the situation which is in the evening, which is very dark, but and also deep. Deep in this poem, in this stanza, maybe means how wide the the woods are. So it talks about the situation in that place. But I have promises to keep. However, he recalls his obligations, promises to keep. and the distance he still must travel, and miles to go before I sleeps, before he can actually sleep. Or in this, in my interpretation, maybe it's about that. And miles to go before I sleep, maybe it talks about his obligation for his entire life, and then uh, after he done all the obligation, he can sleep. It means that he can peacefully dead, maybe something like that. And maybe in the last stanza in this poem is very dark for my interpretation, because the word sleep in it has so many meaning. It can also be rest, just a rest, or that, like my previous meaning. Maybe it depends on the people who did it. And then for the theme, so the theme in my interpretation is desire versus obligations. So the speaker wanted to linger in the quiet forest, enjoying the peace and beauty of the moment. However, he realizes that he cannot abandon his obligations. This illustrates the conflict between the personal desires and external responsibilities. So the theme in this poem is desire versus obligation, in my opinion. And then yeah, that's all for my explanation. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.